Hello, welcome to a new episode of Geek Meet. I'm your host Chris. As usual, it is the beginning of April, and it's freezing cold here in the UK. Last weekend it was pushing 20 degrees. I think last night it was -1. So, what can you do? That's the UK for you. Some sad news to start off with. Bruce Willis has been forced to retire, it seems, due to a condition he's got called aphasia, which affects his ability to communicate, which is a real shame. It must be absolutely devastating for anyone, but for someone who makes a living as in acting, particularly so. There's been rumours for a few years now that he had to wear earpieces on set and was literally having his lines fed to him, and yeah, that's obviously why. So yeah, a real shame. Obviously, we've got all these old movies, to celebrate his work. I mean, Die Hard, all the Die Hard 1, Die Hard 2, Die Hard 3. Even the lesser Die Hards are still not bad action movies. Fifth Element. What have we got? Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, Glass, that sort of thing. Pulp Fiction, another absolute classic. Too many films to list. Yeah, so it's a real shame we may not be seeing much of Bruce Willis gracing our screens again. So, on with the news. This week, Netflix dropped the trailer for Pacific Rim The Black, the animated show. We've only had one season. This is the second season. I have said this is the last season. So, I mean, the fact they've announced that hopefully means we should get an actual conclusion to the show. April the 19th, it drops on Netflix. It's a continuation of the Pacific Rim universe. We've got a sort of youngish boy and his sister traveling across sort of devastated Australia in search of their parents who never came back, in a beaten up old Jaeger that they've sort of got functioning again. The trailer, which I'll put a link to in the description below, as always. The trailer looks good, a lot of action. The first season did some really interesting things. There was a lot of sort of death and destruction that characters getting off that I wasn't really expecting. Yeah, and it was all pretty good, and it was starting to build to something towards the end, something interesting, which I'm glad we are getting this second and final season. There appears to be some strange religious cult, presumably worshipping the kaiju, which we've had bits of in the movies as well. And if anyone's read any of the comics or the books, they do some good world building. Yeah, lots of good action. I think seem to remember there was another kid they picked up who appeared. I think he could transform into a kaiju. Seems to be obviously more of that and explaining what's going on with that. And obviously this cult is very interested in him for those reasons. April the 19th, that is Pacific Rim The Black. I should also point out, in April, Ultraman, the animated show, also on Netflix. Season 2 of that drops on, April the 14th. I somehow missed, we did get a trailer for that about 2 months ago. So I'll put a link to that as well. I seem to have missed that one. Looks like loads of action, a lot of Ultramans appearing in this as well. So I really enjoyed the first season. Had some good action. It was sort of split into 3 parts, and the middle story was a bit iffy, but the beginning sort of origins of him, and then the sort of big final battles at the end were very good. April the 14th, Ultraman's coming, and then Shin Ultraman, which is the new live action cinematic offering, which is coming from the same people who did Shin Godzilla a few years ago. That is dropping in May in Japan. I don't know when we'll get that. I doubt you'll probably even get my limited release over here. I think Shin Godzilla got a very limited release on a couple of screens. So I suspect that will probably end up going straight to streaming or Blu-ray, something like that. So look forward to that. Hopefully, I found Shin Godzilla. It's an interesting exercise. It was something different, but ultimately, it was very slow, quite boring in places. So hopefully, Shin Ultraman is better. What else have we had? Obi-Wan Kenobi. They've shifted the release date. No idea why. They've just put out this little snippet of Ewan McGregor basically saying that instead of it dropping on Wednesday the 25th of May, it's going to be dropping on Friday the 27th. So only 2 days back. What they have done is it's going to drop 2 episodes at the same time. I'm not quite sure why. They haven't given any reason why this has been done. I think it's around the time that the big Star Wars celebration, the big convention they have normally every year, but obviously with COVID, it was not happening for the last couple of years. That's happening. I think it's in California. I think it's in Anaheim this time around. It has been in sort of London before. Yes, I don't wonder if it's something to do with around that. But yeah, so we're getting Obi-Wan 2 days later. But we are getting 2 episodes. So that's good. We also got a new poster and release date for House of the Dragon, the prequel to Game of Thrones, set 200 years before. Interesting to think about how Game of Thrones was such this big worldwide phenomenon, and then just in the space of the final 8 episodes, where it was in that last season, they just seem to alienate much of the fan base. I've never seen a show sort of fall from grace so quickly. Sort of Walking Dead did it gradually over several seasons, that people got bored of it, and that was a must watch event TV. Same as Game of Thrones. And then sort of people now, I don't know, unfortunately, I don't know how much money they've spent on this, but I suspect it won't get half the viewing figures of Game of Thrones. Paddy Considine, Olivia Cook, Matt Smith are all in it. And yeah, August the 21st, that comes to HBO Max. I don't know what we'll get in the UK on that. I suspect, it was one of the Sky channels, Game of Thrones went on, and on Now TV over here. Which I subscribed to Now TV for a little bit just to watch Game of Thrones. Am I going to subscribe just to watch this prequel? No, very probably not. And I didn't even have massive problems with the last season of Game of Thrones. Yes, it was condensed, but the ideas that they brought out with Daenerys becoming the bad guy, that was sort of you could see that coming from a mile off. That's what they were going to do with that. It was the battle with the Night King, what I found was lacking, and then and then obviously it was just as everyone knows, it was just rushed and condensed into a few episodes. Everything happened too quickly. Characters like Cersei sort of getting off in pretty meaningless ways. House of Dragon, August the 21st, HBO. Tune in if you want. That's about it for news this week. What have I been watching? I watched Big Bug, the Jean Pierre-Jeunet movie on Netflix. It's really interesting. I was thinking about, before watching this, how now with all the different streaming services around the world, Netflix, Amazon, Disney Plus, Apple TV, we've obviously got is it Paramount in the States, which I think is launching over here at some point. HBO, Hulu, all these different things. You get some great shows and some great movies, obviously just on the one platform. And it'd be interesting to see in the future how these films enter the zeitgeist. How public opinion of them will be seen. Are you going to get the classic movies that I saw as a kid, that everyone sort of my age loves, because everyone went to see them? And now you're getting TV shows just spread across all these platforms that a lot of people don't have. Be interesting to see how, say, in the future, how shows that someone will absolutely rave about, and someone else will say, no, I've never seen it because they didn't have that streaming platform. And Big Bug's an interesting one because I love Jean Pierre-Jeunet's movies, Delicatessen, City of Lost Children, Amelie, Very Long Engagement. Amongst them, I remember going to see Very Long Engagement and Micmacs at travelling to an art house cinema to go and watch them on the big screen, which was great. And now they just drop, his new one just drops to Netflix, and it's interesting. It's still very stylized. It's set in the future, and you've got a bunch of people trapped in a house. Because there's been they've got AI. There's all these robots. There's been a sort of uprising. These and this Yonics, this sort of group of robots that's everywhere, is more or less sort of taking over mankind. And so it's just set in this one house. It's a sort of almost that sort of Art Deco, what we thought the future might look like in the 1950s. It's all very bright colours, pastels. It's Jean Pierre-Jeunet, obviously very stylized stuff. His early stuff, Delicatessen, the City of Lost Children being very dark. This is the opposite, very bright, a bit more like Amelie. And it's interesting, had I have gone to an art house cinema and paid 10 quid to watch it, would I have felt ripped off? It's a very slight film. Not much goes on. obviously being French, there's some saucy seducing going on, and robots pondering on human procreation and things like that. As I say, and ultimately it ends, and it's taken up 2 hours of your life. It was enjoyable in places. It's not massively funny. It's got that European style, which is quite different to what you would get in, say, an American film. It's hard to recommend it if you're a fan of Jean Pierre-Jeunet and sort of European cinema. It's got that vibe. You get something out of it. Just interesting. These things. He's a big celebrated director, and we would have gone in the past to see his films on the big screen, and now they're just sort of dropping to a streaming service. Who knows what will happen in the future with those. And then again, going on, been watching Severance, which is an absolutely fantastic show, and it's on Apple TV, which obviously not many people have at all at the moment. It's getting better, but there's still not much. I've only got it because we had a free trial for 3 months. So we're just sort of watching all the stuff we want to watch. There isn't a lot on there. We watched Ted Lasso, I mentioned in the last show. But Severance is absolutely brilliant. It's directed and produced by Ben Stiller, of all people, and it's not like his usual fare. We've got Adam Scott, Ben Wyatt from Parks and Rec, probably best known for, and he works for a company called Lumen, and he undergoes the severance process, where basically the work he's doing is so secret. They put this thing in your head, and when you enter the severance floor, your memories like bifurcated. You then can't. You've got a memory from when you're at work, a memory from your outside work, and never the two shall meet. And it is really interesting, and it's really well shot. Ben Stiller's a great director. I suppose because of the sort of bifurcation element, there's a lot of the shots are mostly symmetrical. Big Lumen building in the background, and the car park. It's all symmetrical, and people just be walking down the center of the frame. Does that a lot. A lot of very sort of low angle, wide lenses of sort of office spaces, just lit, fluorescently lit offices, just very small cubicle in the middle, lots of empty space. Very strange. Obviously, you don't know what's going on. The work they seem to be doing on the severance floor is just some weird stuff with numbers that they have to. You look at lots of scrolling numbers until you see the scary ones, is what they say, and then if it gives you that feeling, and you put them into these different coloured folders, all very weird. Adam Scott is brilliant. Patricia Arquette is in it. The legendary Christopher Walken is in it, obviously bringing his level of madness, and John Turturro as well. And it's great. I've seen the first 3 episodes so far. I think there's 9 altogether. I think the final episode drops next week. Interesting to see where it goes. Hopefully, it's not one of those shows where it's all set up, the sort of the Damon Lindelof Lost sort of effect, where they don't actually know where it's going. But hopefully, it's really promising and definitely well worth a watch. I say, and lots of people aren't going to watch it because it's on Apple TV. It's just one of those strange things in this sort of world we live in with all the streaming at the moment. So if you get offered a free trial of Apple TV, check it out. And Moon Knight was the other big release this week on Disney Plus, based on the comic books. I must admit I've not read any of Moon Knight, so all going in blind to me. Oscar Isaac is Stephen Grant, a guy who has very weird things going on. He has memory loss. He basically chains himself into bed every night, puts sand around his bed to make sure he doesn't leave any, check in the morning for footprints. He puts tape down the side of his door. And he still wakes up in places and things happen, and he loses whole days and doesn't know what's going on. He works at it looks like it's filmed at the it's either the Natural History Museum or the British Museum. I can't remember which one. He works like in the gift shop there. He's a sort of lonely person, and he's got all this weird stuff going on. And then you've got Ethan Hawke as a cult leader, Egyptian gods and spirits, and then Stephen suddenly, people are trying to kill him. He doesn't know why, but he'll blank out for a few seconds, and when he comes around, all the people around him are dead. He's got blood on him. He's obviously doing something else And then we get obviously the big reveal towards the end of the show, where he actually becomes Moon Knight, possessed by the spirit of Khonshu, I think it is, voiced by F. Murray Abraham. I spent the whole episode trying to work out who it was. I looked him up at the end. Absolutely fantastic voice. Really good going. Interesting, both Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke both said that what drew them to the roles was the fact that it's very standalone from the MCU. And I'm just trying to think of a single reference to anything else to the MCU in the first episode, and I don't think there is. Not even anything like little background things like newspaper headlines or something, graffiti on walls. I couldn't see any reference to the MCU at all, which was interesting. Which led me to think it's quite Eternals left us with half a sort of sentinel sticking out the side of the earth, this huge thing. And although there's not been a lot of MCU projects since then, the ones we have got, not one of them has mentioned that, which I find quite odd. I know Eternals obviously didn't set the box office alight, wasn't one of the better received Marvel movies, so I wonder how much of it storylines that were coming out of that may get ignored or moved on into other projects. But at some point, presumably they're going to have to address this huge sentinel sticking out the side of the planet. Not mentioned in this, and say no other sort of MCU references at all. Be interesting to see all of these sort of Disney Plus shows. You get some cameos from other big Marvel heavy hitters. It'd be interesting to see if we get anything here. Doctor Strange would be an obvious one. Blade, even we've heard his voice briefly at the end of Eternals. Not that I had to look it up to see after I watched it who that was. A sort of very strange cameo from a character that we've not even seen on screen in his new guise. So Moon Knight, very weird, very freaky, very mysterious, not knowing what's going on. So I loved it, and looking forward to see what comes next. If you like the channel, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe would be awesome to have you. Should be a video dropping shortly. I may put it up before this one, I'm not sure yet, where I've repainted the Hasbro Legends Captain America shield, made look a bit more realistic. So I'll be sticking that up soon, so it may already be up by now. And that's about it for me. Take care, and until next week, eat, geek, and be merry.